Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Cuba gets a new president. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, April 18th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. For the first time in nearly 6 decades, someone from outside the Castro family will lead the Spanish-speaking Caribbean nation of Cuba. The National Assembly on Wednesday nominated first Vice President Miguel Diaz-Canel as its sole candidate to succeed 86-year-old Raul Castro, who is stepping down after 2 5-year terms. The nomination of Diaz-Canel, a 57-year-old technocrat, essentially guarantees that he will be confirmed by the 604 delegates at the National Assembly. The Assembly generally approves presidential candidates with near total unanimity. Diaz-Canel has served as Vice President of the Council of State, the country's highest governing body, since 2013, when he was appointed by party leadership and approved by the National Assembly. Also on Wednesday, a 72-year-old former union official, Salvador Valdez Mesa, was nominated by the National Assembly as Vice President. In Jamaica, the ruling party seems to have changed its position on whether homosexuals can serve in the cabinet, but Prime Minister Andrew Holness has shied away from saying whether he wants to decriminalize buggery. Instead, he has reiterated that more viewpoints should be brought into the discussion. Holness was responding to questions from a journalist while on an official visit to the United Kingdom. We get more in this TVJ News report.
Not in my cabinet, a mantra that became popular in 2008 when a question was posed to former Prime Minister Bruce Golding.
Do you in the future want to live in a Jamaica where a gay man or a gay woman can be in the cabinet?
Sure, they can be in the cabinet, not mine.
Well, they can't be in yours.
Not mine.
No, but do you want to live in a Jamaica where they can be and they should be and it would be entirely natural for them to be so?
I do not know that that is necessarily the direction in which I want my country to go.
10 years later.
Would you reiterate those words today, or would
Absolutely not, no.
That was Prime Minister Andrew Holness responding to a similar question on Monday in the United Kingdom.
Firstly, it's not my business. Neither it is my interest to, and I don't, whatever is in my discretion to distribute politically. A person's sexuality, sexual orientation is not a criteria for the use of my discretion.
Interestingly, though, this was the Prime Minister during the election campaign in 2011.
Do you share the sentiment that you don't want any homosexuals in your cabinet?
My sentiments reflect the sentiments of the country. The Prime Minister has a discretion, but that discretion cannot be exercised in a vacuum.
No definitive answer then, but now the Prime Minister says Jamaica is part of a Western culture, the people are liberal, and the country is not afraid to address the issue of gay rights.
The culture is evolving. The people are evolving. And even in the church, which 10 years ago had a unified position, the church in Jamaica now has multiple positions on the issue. So I think Jamaica ought to be given space to find its own solution to the problem.
A Belizean court and a high court in Trinidad and Tobago have declared that the buggery law in their countries is unconstitutional. Since Jamaica has a similar case before the court, one advocacy group which wants the buggery law to remain in place has called on Jamaicans to be vigilant to ensure a similar ruling is not handed down here. Mr. Holness has promised a referendum on the buggery law. Until then, Jamaica will protect the human rights of everyone.
As it relates to the civil rights, I think the culture needs to evolve, the conversation needs to be had, and it can't be stoked or pushed. It is something that will evolve, and over time, and probably a short time, Jamaica's position will be very settled on the matter.
Well, Trinidad and Tobago's President Paula May Weeks is weighing in on the debate in her country over a High Court ruling that the Burberry law is unconstitutional. Weeks is warning citizens that they must be careful not to inadvertently incite victimization, bigotry and violence. And she's calling for good sense to prevail in the public domain when it comes to pronouncements on the Sexual Offences Act. In a statement, President Weeks said she has been looking on with concern at the debate, both in the traditional and social media surrounding sections 13 and 16 of the Sexual Offences Act. She says those in position and in the know should use their authority to influence others and seek to become more informed before making public utterances. Weeks is also reminding commentators of the request she made when she was inaugurated, that people with a public platform use it to disseminate their views or their points of others' responsibility and with civility. She noted that the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago has indicated that the decision was appealed and the final verdict on the constitutionality of the law is yet to be determined. Still in Trinidad and Tobago, the government on Tuesday suffered a setback in the corruption lawsuit it filed against former Housing Development Corporation officials, 2 state officials and 2 private companies over a multi-million-dollar land deal. Court Judge Eleanor Donaldson Honeywell upheld an application by the defendants in the case to set aside the lawsuit based on the procedure used by the Office of the Attorney General in filing it 2 years ago, but government says it will refile the case. The lawsuit centers around the Housing Development Corporation's purchase of 20 hectares of land at an area known as Eden Gardens in 2012. An evaluator attached to the Commissioner of Valuations valued the 50-acre property at $180 million TT dollars, while independent valuators put it at $52 million. The government is alleging that the defendants were part of a conspiracy to bribe state officials to overhaul the land to overvalue the land and benefit from the proceeds. But Justice Donaldson Honeywell ruled that the defendants had been prejudiced by the Office of the AG's decision to file the lawsuit under a seal of secrecy in November 2016 and to seek 2 successive extensions of time in which to serve the lawsuit on them. That decision was largely based on the fact that the state's investigation into the alleged corruption was ongoing at the time and the case had to be filed within the 4-year limitation period for civil lawsuits. While she said the state's conduct was not a deliberate abusive process, the judge said it had put the defendants on unequal footing. She therefore suggested that refiling of the case would be appropriate, as it would give both sides more precise focus in the claim. And government will be doing just that, as we hear in this CTV news report.
Suit against former Managing Director of the Housing Development Corporation, Julian John, and 9 others is far from over. Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi held a news conference on Wednesday afternoon to set the record straight after a newspaper headline implied that government was dealt a major blow in its fight against white-collar crime. He said the government did not lose the Eden Gardens land case and intends to file the documents in the matter.
And Ms. Julian John in particular, the deputy political leader of the United National Congress, who is claiming vindication by the courts in Trinidad and Tobago, I want to say to her, not so fast, Julian.
And once the case is refiled, the AG's office will have to convince the court why the limitation period should be waived, as in other cases in which corrupt activities are only discovered after a change of regime. The British Parliament is to debate the issue related to the so-called Windrush generation on April 30th, following a successful petition launched on the matter. The petition, calling for an amnesty for all Windrush children, has garnered more than 160,000 signatures so far. The Windrush generation refers to people who arrived in the UK between 1948 and 1971 from Caribbean countries. Labour MP for Tottenham, David Lammy, had asked the UK Home Office to review all Windrush cases cases since 2014 to ensure no wrongful detentions have taken place. British Prime Minister Theresa May on Tuesday declared that no member of the Windrush generation will be deported from Britain. She gave the commitment during a meeting with 12 Caribbean heads of government at Downing Street, where she also apologized for deportation threats made to the children of Commonwealth citizens who, despite living and working in the UK for decades, were told they are living in Britain illegally because of a lack of official paperwork. Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, Grenada opts to focus on developing its gas sector before the oil sector, despite a recent discovery. Stay with us. There's more news after the break.
Follow your heart to the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival from June 27 to July 1st, 2018. Featuring Kester Band, Sizzler Longy, Small X Band, Nyla Blackman, and Betty Wack. Also, Patti LaBelle, Dijon, New Vibes International, Rhythm of the Beat, and Wayne Wonder. Spice, August Alsina, Aishona, Byron Messiah, Destra, Shaka Dimas, and Flyers, and Miss Lauren Hill. Save the date and book now for the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Kick back, relax, enjoy the view, the boats, the scenery amidst epic parties, entertainment and nightlife. Antigua Sailing Week. Experience 7 days of non-stop bliss. Chase the race daily by land or up close by sea as the crews compete for glory. Then, when night falls, the harbor ignites. Antigua Sailing Week, April 28th to May 4th, 2018. Antigua and Barbuda. The beach is just the beginning.
Despite the recent discovery of oil in Grenada's territorial waters, the government says it will focus on developing the gas sector first. Energy Minister Gregory Bowen told a post-cabinet brief on Tuesday that Trinidad and Tobago's national gas company, that's the NGC, will be working closely with the government and the Global Petroleum Group, the GPG, to develop the sector.
This result indicates an abundance of natural gas. Yes, we've seen the liquid component, condensate, and possibly oil, but the massive result is gas. But that doesn't mean when we do the next well, we hope, and let us hope for Grenada's sake, that we can also find some oil.
Earlier this month, NGC announced that it had finalized a commercial agreement with the US-based GPG operating in Grenada. In 2017, GPG had undertaken exploration and appraisal activities off the south coast of Grenada near the Pateo Dragon Fields in Venezuela and North Coast Marine Area Fields in Trinidad. Guyana recorded low economic growth in 2017, and economists are saying it could be the worst on record. As we hear in this report from Roydon James of HGP Nightly News, the challenges experienced in the sugar industry contributed in large measure to the 2.1% growth rate.
It is considered the lowest growth rate in the country's economy in decades, and this slowdown in the country's economy is because of, among other things, the non-performance or not so well performance in critical sectors of the economy like gold, Finance Minister Winston Jordan said Friday. The minister's comments came after opposition leader Barra Jagdeo said that it is almost 4 months into the new year and the nation remains in the dark about the actual performance of the economy. But Mr. Jordan said the report was prepared a while ago and was before the cabinet.
The economy did not perform as robust as we expected during last year, as we had identified, but even at the half year, we were predicting that the economy will not do well, given what we knew about at least sugar. At the end of the day, it turned out to be even worse than we predicted. So even though there was positive growth for last year, the growth rate ended up being 2.1%.
Some sectors, the minister explained, that usually contribute heavily to the country's GDP did not do so well.
Sugar, we had budgeted at 208,000 tons, came in at only 137,307 tons. Rice did quite well. We had budgeted 600,000 tons. Rice came in at 630,104 tons. Bauxite, that also didn't do quite well. We had budgeted 1,726,008 tons. Bauxite came in at 1,459,223 tons. Gold, major disappointment. Gold we budgeted at 694,000 ounces. Gold came in at 653,674 ounces.
However, Mr. Jordan said that some sectors are already starting to rebound, and this is a good sign of things to come for the country's economy this year.
The forestry sector is now showing signs of recovery after a lapse over the previous 2 years. Forestry, we budgeted 318,000 cubic meters. Forestry came in at 349,900 cubic meters. So as you can see, very indifferent performances in the sector.
Director General of the Caribbean Forum of the African, Caribbean and Pacific Group of States, CARIFORUM, says the group met its objectives for the just concluded consultation in Barbados. Percival Mary said the main objective was to assess the development of a framework for an effective platform for structured and continuous dialogue between CARIFORUM and French Caribbean outermost regions and British and Dutch overseas countries and territories.
The meeting made some recommendations for follow-up action, which includes consolidation of the work done by the consultation itself, the preparation of additional technical documentation, ideas on the kind of political initiatives which have to be taken to facilitate the deepening of the cooperation arrangements, ideas on what is possible and practical at the technical level now, even outside of formal arrangements, as well as arrangements for discussion at the wider political level of a concerted program of action to be taken to deepen and broaden the relationship that exists among these countries.
The consultation also reviewed reports on the operations of 4 thematic task force on natural disaster management, HIV and AIDS, trade and investment, and interconnection. And ahead in Newsline Sport, Windies wicketkeeper batsman Dennis Ramdin hoping to make a test cricket comeback. Stay with us. Sport is next.
22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival from June 27 to July 1st, 2018. Featuring Kester Band, Sizzler Lungi, Small Axe Band, Nyla Blackman, and Betty Wack. Also, Patti LaBelle, Dijon, New Vibes International, Rhythm of the Beat, and Wayne Wonder. Spice, August Alsina, Aishona, Byron Messiah, Dasha, Shaka Dimas, and Flyers, and Miss Lauren Hill. Save the date and book now for the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
This month, Caribbean Passport celebrates growth in the tourism sector, with Barbados winning the title of Best Destination in 2017. Grenada promoting Spice Mass. Trinidad and Tobago talks digital transformation, and Antigua and Barbuda heads into their sailing week. This and more coming up next on this station.
Wicketkeeper batsman Danish Ramden says he's still hopeful of making a test comeback, especially after being retained in the T20 squad for the rest of the World 11 fixture in London next month. Earlier this month, the 33-year-old returned to the international side for the first time in 17 months when he toured Pakistan for the historic three-match T20 series in Karachi. Ramden told the Trinidad newspaper, and I quote, "My job was to go out and make a lot of runs, and I think I did that. That is my part, and hopefully the selectors can do their part now. I'm just waiting on the call to play Test match or T20. Whichever one, I'm happy to go out and play. Test cricket is the ultimate. Once I get back there, I would like to continue where I left off in Australia, where I had some good performances. We have some good cricket coming up in the next few months, and hopefully, if I get my opportunity, I will go out and do my best." End of quote. West Indies suffered a 3-0 whitewash in Pakistan, but Ramden did his chances of reselection little harm with a stroke-filled unbeaten 42 in the final T20. He said he was pleased with his selection and was looking forward to the May 31st fixture at Lord's. Meanwhile, former West Indies speedster Fidel Edwards celebrated receiving his county cap by grabbing 3 wickets in Monday's final day of Hampshire's opening county championship fixture as he helped propel them to a crushing 196-run victory over Worcester, resuming on 59 for 3 and chasing 324 at the Rose Bowl. Worcester collapsed for a meager 127 all out, with the right armer Edwards finishing with 3 for 33. New ball bowler South African Kyle Abbott finished with 4 for 55 to end with an 8-wicket haul in the match. The 36-year-old Edwards grabbed 2 wickets in the first innings to end with a 5-wicket match haul. Wickets fell steadily as Worcester lost their last 7 for just 68 runs. Edwards contributed to the swift decline, snatching 2 wickets in successive deliveries as Ed Barnard was LBW and Captain Joe Leach was caught at the wicket without scoring, leaving Worcester on 101 for 9. Edwards, who played 55 tests for the Windies, was presented with his county cap before the start of play for his contributions to the club. Officials in Guyana have heaped praises on Troy Doris, who won the only gold medal for his country in the triple jump at the just concluded Commonwealth Games. President David Granger and Athletics Association boss Aubrey Hudson spoke about the achievement of the country's newest medalist. In this report from Eson Griffith of Capital News, Hudson says he hopes more sponsors will come on board to support the country's athletic program.
David Granger has extended congratulations to Commonwealth triple jumper gold medalist Troy Doris, who won Guyana's lone gold medal at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games on Saturday in England. Doris landed gold when he leaped to 16.88 centimeters to top the field of athletes to claim gold for Guyana and his first international gold medal. An elated president of the AAG, Aubrey Hudson, spoke of Troy's achievement and what it means to athletics locally.
But Troy Doris, again, came out as the top athlete. We selected a pretty good squad, our best athletes that we think could represent us. And we are so happy that Troy was able to get us that medal, and we are so happy too that it's a gold medal. This will make our work a little easier in talking to our international sponsors, bringing recognition to the sport in Guyana.
Hudson said the AG, along with the Guyana Olympic Association, will have to give more support to the international athletes.
The Guyana Olympic Association has the Olympic Solidarity Program that Troy Doris do receive funding from. I think there's some additional funding that you would get from them through another program as well. The Athletics Association of Guyana receiving $15,000 US towards our administrative costs of running the association and holding the meets that we hold is not even enough for Troy Doris alone. So unless we can gain sponsorship or income from local private sector entities and government of Guyana, we can promise him a lot of things, but it's going to be based on our income that we can now deal with expenditure. Now that he is jumping again, we can approach more sponsors, and whatever we get coming on board, we'll be able to now support his program a little better.
The AAG president said with the excellence shown by Ghana's athletes at several international events, there is a possibility that more focus can be paid to the non-traditional sport.
So the notion is not to just focus on one particular area. We want to develop track and field evenly across the board. And what we would have realized, again, is that internationally the playing field is very even, because there's no one country or no one area that can lay claim now to particular events. If you look at the female steeplechase, was won by two girls from the USA. When those events you could close your eyes and say it's either Ethiopia or Kenya that would have won it. The 200 meters at the World Championship was won by a Turkish athlete. So Jamaica can no longer hold claim to this prince, because there are people out there who know that once they train hard, they can get medals. And we want to have that same approach. We want to enter into every event knowing that we have an equal chance.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
There's an island just beyond the horizon, waiting for you to explore its deep treasures. Experience this and more at the Barbados Reggae Festival. 4 of the biggest reggae events, April 22nd to 29th, featuring the superstars of reggae, Maxi Priest, JC Lodge, Everton Blender, Johnny Osborne,
No ice cream sound,
Queen Ifrica, Ja Cure,
anytime you need a lover, call on me.
Anthony B, Taurus Riley,
But anytime you decide if you pack up your things and leave, don't come back.
Idonia,
Yeah.
and many more. Purchase your event tickets from ticketlinks.com. For more details, follow Barbados Reggae Festival on Facebook or Instagram. Barbados, always on.
Kick back, relax, enjoy the view, the boats, the scenery amidst epic parties, entertainment and nightlife. Antigua Sailing Week. Experience 7 days of non-stop bliss. Chase the race daily by land or up close by sea as the crews compete for glory. Then, when night falls, the harbor ignites. Antigua Sailing Week, April 28th to May 4th, 2018. Antigua and Barbuda. The beach is just the beginning.
Again, the major developments of this day. Cuba's National Assembly nominates first Vice President Miguel Diaz-Canel as its sole candidate to become the island's next president. And in sport, West Indies wicketkeeper batsman Dennis Ramden, hopeful of making a test comeback after being retained in the T20 squad for the Rest of the World 11 fixture in London next month. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to KanaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and do have yourselves a good night.